where the heck are you? Oh my God, there you are. God, where the heck do you hide?
Welcome back to 6 Degrees of Cats, the world's #1 and only cat-themed culture, history, and science podcast, in which I, Captain Kitty, aka Amanda B., and my feline co-executive producers Binky, Snuggles, and Peanut navigate the weird, wild world from the past to the present with the help of an exceptional array of guest experts. All aboard! Hola, you singular awesome human listening right now. Before we get started, we thought we'd share some really cool news. We just got nominated as a Best Nature Podcast in the 2025 Earworthy Indie Podcast Awards. We're super over the moon. Thanks to every single one of you for sharing the podcast, emailing critics or writers or celebrities or journalists about it, and rating and reviewing it. We also wanted to give a big, huge cat hug from Binky, Snuggles, Peanut, and I to all of our wonderful sponsors and donors. We're going to shout out last month's sponsor, Frank Rassiopi, and our Substack subscribers, Edward A., Jen Hen, Kim S., and Rebecca R., as well as our Ko-Fi or coffee sponsors, Christina P., Jenny P., and Gemma S. Thank you so much. And if you'd like to join the Clouder, please check out our show notes for more details on how to help keep this ship afloat. It's a team of 1 human and 3 cats doing it, and this really all helps make it work. For now. As you know, here at 6 Degrees of Cats, we're based not only in the most politically imposing, for lack of a better word, nation in the world, but also one of the most central cities to global culture, honestly. I don't think I'm being self-centered by saying that this would be New York City. When you think of New York City, what do you think of?
Ew.
Oh my God, honey, what is that?
Yeah, rats. Now, that got me to thinking. Cats do not rat. As in snitch, squeal, spy. They may be watchful, they may hold the secrets to the universe, but cats do not work for the man, capital T, capital M. Or do they? In this episode of 6 Degrees of Cats, we're going to look into if and how people have leveraged the stealthy, sneaky surveillance skills of Felis catus with the help of 3 experts in cat anatomy, ninjas, and covert ops. Spoiler, they have. Well, kind of. Kitties. Here, there, and everywhere. In cities across the world, they're ubiquitous. We actually have a feral cat crisis, folks, so please donate to your local shelter, volunteer for TNR, and be sure to adopt and not shop. To the whole point of this podcast, cats certainly influence culture and history. Case in point, well, let's travel back in time, 10 years, to Japan.
Ohayo.
Ando sensei, ohayo gozaimasu. That was my colleague, Ando sensei. I was telling him about this visit to a ninja-themed restaurant somewhere in Japan.
Oh, I see you draw cats on the whiteboard again. I hear ninja walk like cats.
That's so cool, Ando sensei. Ando sensei loved it when I was impressed by Japanese culture, so I tried to be as expressive and effusive as possible. Oh yes, friends, a ninja-themed restaurant. The food wasn't memorable, but that wasn't the point. You pushed a button and the servers would appear from a hidden door somewhere. They wouldn't really talk. I guess it was hard to speak through the nylon balaclava thing on their faces. but I appreciated the cat-like way they silently and quickly maneuvered in the booth, serving us the food and then mysteriously receding into some hidden wall panel, even climbing over the wall of the booth while balancing a bunch of plates and glasses. It was pretty cool. Totally Edo period authentic, I'm sure. That conversation with Ando-sensei stuck with me over the years because, seriously, from what I know of ninjas, the spies of Japan, cats are perfect models of stealth and secretiveness. Take it from an expert on cat anatomy.
My name is Gabriella Canales. I go by Gabby. I am a veterinarian and one of the co-medical directors at West Chelsea Veterinary, which is a small animal general practice in Manhattan. I'm also in a all-female punk band named Free to Kill, which is Free to Kill Kills on Instagram.
Obviously, Gabby lives a double life too. I had no idea when our bands played together that she was a vet. So in our Cat Eye episode, the wonderful veterinary ophthalmologist Dr. Steve Haynes shed light on the visual acuities of these sneaky little cuties. Cats really do have super skills, from their heads to their toes. And since we were just talking about the ninja moves, let's start with their little feetsies.
They're actually walking on their toes. What would be like the flat part of our foot makes up the lower part of their leg. They're pretty graceful because of that. They look kind of dainty. That helps with their gait as well, because when they're walking, their hind foot is going to go right where their front foot is. It's in the perfect alignment, and it just helps with their grace and their limberness when they're walking, say, like on the edge of a fence or something like that. The front part of their arms and legs closest to their body is a lot more muscular than the bottom part. It gives them a lot of power, especially because they're so lightweight.
Aw, walking on their tiptoes like a little ballerina or a ninja. Which is why, folks, we do not declaw our kitties. You're not clipping their nails, you're cutting off the tips of their toes. They need the tips of their toes to walk on their tiptoes, get it? Anyway, Gabby was saying,
they can extend their claws and their digits like a telescope that allows for extra extension and grabbing. They're also able to pronate and supinate. They can move their wrists kind of up and down. So when you see a cat licking its paws, it's kind of an unusual movement for most quadrupeds to be able to look under their paw and lick and grab. So I think cats have an extra ability to move it even further out.
in Season 1, we had physicist Greg Gabor, who literally wrote the book on the physics of cats, explaining the riding reflex, which helps cats land on their feet. Especially critical for scaling castle walls, navigating in low light or darkness, and serving several orders of gyoza and a pitcher of namabiru to a group of foreigners in a theme restaurant.
They don't always land on their feet. The height requirement is at least 3 feet. They do have a certain mechanism within their balance center and their ears and brain that allows them to know exactly where the floor is.
Obviously, finding their way around spaces and orienting themselves in, say, underground passages would be an especially feline move for a ninja.
Their inner ear has a special apparatus that allows them to know where they are in space. Same with their whiskers for tactile purposes. When they're walking through a tight space, they know exactly if their body is going to fit.
They're just built different.
They have more vertebrae than we do. And of course, they have a tail. Their clavicle is floating. They actually can squeeze into tight spaces more than a human or a dog could. So I think having that just makes them a little bit more flexible.
Like ninjas? Actually, what were ninjas' special skills again? So far, what I know about ninjas is sort of restricted to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and that ninja restaurant experience I had. and Ando Sensei's intel. But worry not, listeners. You know me. I go straight to the source. According to whom?
No one would have used the word ninja.
Oh. Friends? I am so glad to introduce you to a bona fide ninja expert. He wouldn't call himself that, but this is my podcast. I do what I want.
My name is Zach Davison. I am a writer and translator with a specialty in both Japanese history as well as Japanese folklore. I have been a translator of works such as A Manga History of Japan, a one-volume college-level course on the history of Japan. I also translated Showa History of Japan by cartoonist and National Living Treasure Shigeru Mizuki. I write my own books as well. Come and find me on Blue Sky, ZachDavison.com.
So, what's this about the word ninja not being a thing? Let's take a second for a tiny linguistics lesson.
Written languages can either do one of two things, but it can't do both at the same time. It can either tell you pronunciation or it can tell you meaning. For example, the alphabet uses pronunciation, and the Japanese character set of hiragana also does pronunciation. You have no idea how a word means, but you can sound it out. Kanji, on the other hand, transmits meaning, but it doesn't tell you how to say anything. And the pronunciation can often change. So the first kanji in ninja is shinobu. It's found in 8th century poems, and it just basically means anyone being sneaky. You know, if you were in the castle and sneaking into the lord's favorite courtesan's room at night, you were shinobi. You were a sneaky guy. In later terms, they would add on the end of it the word mono. Mono is the kanji that basically means person. And so shinobi no mono would be basically sneaky person. Shinobi no mono became a sort of colloquial term for people doing this kind of work. They needed a sneaky guy. Shinobi no mono can then be shortened by removing the hiragana in the middle. Now, those two kanji mash together and the pronunciation completely changes. So shi now is pronounced nin and mono is now pronounced ja. And that is how you get ninja, which once again was not a word that was ever used when ninja were active. There was a lot of other names that they would use for the shinobi at the time, like Nokizaru or Rappa, which just basically means like ruffian. They would sometimes call them kusa, which just means grass. In the modern military equivalent, I think of them as commandos. They're the team that sneaks in and does all the dirty work. These were really all of the super bottom level warriors. They were mercenaries. They were really the poor samurai groups or clans who did not fight for honor. They did not fight in service of a lord. There were two in Iga and Koga who got together and just basically decided to specialize in this dirty work. And that's basically how ninja appeared. Basically, all the dirty deeds done dirt cheap were done by what they called the shinobi, honorless warriors for hire that can be paid to do all this sort of stuff. Someone who was trying to appear honorable, trying to gain status as a samurai, what you wanted to do was ride gloriously onto the battlefield and behead your opponents. You didn't want to sneak into a castle at night and plug up their sewer system so the castle would overflow with dung in order to try and force people to go out.
Ooh, gross. Let's get to the good stuff. Assassinations.
The one thing ninjas never were assassins.
What?
They've, of course, in popular culture, absolutely become assassins, but they never were there to just kill one person.
Okay, so then espionage, like basic stuff?
Yeah, they weren't like a spy per se. I mean,
Wait, so what did they even do then?
I mean, they did a lot of that, but like castle breaking was a big part of them. They would lay siege to a castle. And what they needed was to get people to sneak into the castle at night because you needed these doors open. They had different techniques they would do. They would try to gain passwords. They would kill someone and put on their uniform so that they could sneak in.
And they'd change out of their black costume.
They certainly wouldn't have worn black pajamas. That would have been absolutely bizarre. Like, oh, who's the dude in the black pajamas? They would just stand out so very much. So yeah, I mean, they would much more likely dress as traveling medicine sellers, as priests. They would basically try to dress as anyone who they thought might be given access to the castle. And then once they were inside the castle, that's when their real work would start. They would start fires inside the castle to try and open its front door and have everyone run out to the waiting army.
So then where the heck did the costume come from?
A lot of the stuff that you know about the modern ninja was created by kabuki theater. The stagehands wear this black costume. And the whole point of this black costume is basically to signal the audience, this person is not important. Don't look at this person. That is the kuroko, the stagehand. They show up in what we would know as a ninja costume. One of the innovations they did was to start dressing these ninja characters in this kuroko outfit, which was really amazing to the audience because you're sitting in the theater and you've watched kabuki forever, and this guy comes up in the black costume, and you know full well, because you've been going to kabuki theater for years, he doesn't actually interact with the story. He's going to move some chairs, read the set, and you can pretty much just ignore them. And all of a sudden, that character jumps up and kills the main character. I mean, what a shock that would be, right? Like, that would blow your mind. And that's basically how kabuki theater started the black costume, as a way to show that they were these sort of like magical, mystical assassins who could appear from everywhere.
So far, the case isn't strong that cats actually inspired the ninja playbook.
The only record that we have of what the ninjas were supposed to have learned was a book written 300 years after the last ninja disappeared. During the 17th century, one of the Koga clans was trying to get a stipend from the government in repayment of their military work. And they basically said, well, we have no record of you ever doing it. So they basically faked this book, the Bonsen Shukai, to show that they had this big history. Most of the stuff that you hear about this supposedly shadowy profession comes from these books. And a lot of them are really like ridiculous because there's a lot of magic involved. Like, how do you silence a barking dog? You do it by making certain hand things. Obviously stuff that doesn't actually work or wasn't actually real. It is entirely a fantasy. And I think that's fine. I think it's a lot of fun to play with that kind of stuff. But it is important to realize that it is folklore and not reality.
Okay, I guess it's pretty unlikely that ninjas were inspired by cats to walk softly and stuff.
Is it possible? Maybe, but from the role that cats had in Japan, I mean, cats were not really widespread in Japan at the time. A lot of people had cats, but it wasn't until like the Edo period really that cats proliferated throughout urban Japan and everything.
Go figure.
I know, which is a bummer because this is a cat podcast. I want to tell you that they were all cats and everything, but you know.
But folks, Zach's not saying 100% that nobody ever said ever that somebody trying to be quiet should walk like a cat back then.
I mean, could it have been said? It's certainly possible. Is there any record of that?
Fine. Cats are not, were not, and never will be ninjas. And the entire concept of ninjas being these stealthy assassins is basically wrong. That being said, friends, I'm still hearing a lot of potential for our little house creepers to be useful in some contexts. And you know what? I'm not the first person to have thought of this. Hmm? Let's keep gathering this intelligence on cats, if you will, after the break. Throw those sleek, all-black Lycra outfits and balaclavas of yore into the trash. If you're going as a ninja this Halloween, just show up in your street clothes, because that's apparently the more accurate costume. And, maybe throw on some sewage stains. Actually, don't. I'm sorry to have removed the romantic aspects of the grass, so to speak, of the 12th century Warring States era. Zach did say he's just going on the evidence. So I reserve the right to live in a fantastical little world where someone, long ago, did say that there was a shinobi who saw a cat and thought, we should move like a cat. Look, can't hurt anyone. As I teased earlier, someone not in Japan did actually notice that cats do indeed seem to have what it takes to be a spy. Well, sort of. Actually, I guess since we got schooled on ninjas, we should probably check ourselves here too. So, what is a spy?
This is a big debate. What is a spy? When people think of spies, they quite often think of what in the United States would be a CIA operations officer or case officer. So that's the person who goes overseas, who poses as an American diplomat, but secretly they're a CIA officer, and they're there to try to recruit agents, to steal secrets, to try to gather information about what another country's up to.
That was Dr. Andrew Hammond. We met a few years back when he served as a curator of the International Spy Museum in Washington, D.C. Dr. Hammond is an expert in European and North American intelligence history, specifically around the Cold War, and he has intelligence gathering in his own professional history as well.
I was in the Royal Air Force for 7 years. I'd done some photographic intelligence. Then I felt like in the military, not that I was some commanding general or something, but I felt like an actor in a play, but I didn't really understand the plot. So I decided to go back to school to study international relations and history. Ended up with a Ph.D. I ended up with a position at the 9/11 Museum in New York for a couple of years. I was in academia for a while, and then I was on a fellowship at the Library of Congress.
For obvious reasons, nobody puts spy on like their business card or LinkedIn headline. In fact,
some people in the business, so to speak, get a bit peeved when people are referred to as spies. Even a CIA case officer who's going overseas to recruit agents and steal secrets, they would say, I'm not a spy. I'm an intelligence officer. The spy would be the person that they recruit, who's not a professional intelligence officer who works on behalf of an intelligence agency. The word has escaped beyond its very narrow definition, and it's used as much more of a cultural shorthand. We hear of spy satellites, spy agencies, spy chiefs. So I think that when we use the term at its broadest level, we can just refer to the types of people that gather generally secret or classified intelligence. There's so much that goes into intelligence from like every perceivable aspect. If your listeners just shut their eyes and just think about the world around them, what's going on? You can hear things, you can smell things, you can touch things. If you open your eyes, you can see things. So those are all ways of drinking in and trying to understand the world around us. So if you want to think about intelligence like that, there's people that hear things. This could just be a human being, standing with a glass up against the door, listening to what's happening in the next room. This could be super sophisticated listening equipment that picks up sonar under the water, or it could be something that picks up radio waves that are bouncing off of the ionosphere and traveling thousands of miles. If you think about seeing, so this could just be way back when, at the beginning of our species, someone goes to the top of a hill to see what the other tribe of people are doing. Are they preparing to attack us? Are they peaceful? Are they sleeping? What's going on? So that's the most basic level. You've got human intelligence. But if you think about the modern age, we've got drones, we've got airplanes, we've even got satellites, there's signals intelligence. There's all these different ways that you can learn about the world. One that's become popular recently is open source intelligence. By using, say, the internet, what information can you bring in to figure out what's going on? Basically, the way that all of that phenomena is leveraged at the state level is through these agencies that try to gather it and then synthesize it to make it make sense, to try to give policymakers and decision makers intelligence so that they can make the best possible decisions. I should say it's not just about governments anymore. You know, there's cyber threat intelligence, there's business intelligence, competitive intelligence. Intelligence is getting rolled out across so many different sectors of society, and Google, Apple, Facebook, they probably have more information on you and I than the CIA.
I've resigned myself to the knowledge that we are in a state of perpetual surveillance. Everything we do, with a few exceptions, is tracked, reported, and monetized, either by a third party or, increasingly, ourselves. And this is all legal. Your emails, every click on your computer, and all but podcast analytics, which are notoriously difficult to track, report back to a vast, invisible, multi-billion-dollar network of information brokers trading your personal information and behaviors. And out on the streets, there are CCTV cameras everywhere. Everyone has a video camera to capture and broadcast your every move. Look, I know it's not a new thing. The village has always had eyes, ears, and mouths. As the Church, Inc. has always said, God is watching us, as well as your cats. To borrow gamer speak, cats are like the background non-players in most cities. They're also in the households of people across every single demographic you can think of. They're just around. Andrew said earlier that a spy includes any person who gathers intelligence. Could that include non-human gatherers of secrets? Turns out, yes, it can. What we're now going to hear about does include some mentions of inhumane procedures on living creatures. But I'd like to be delusional in thinking they at least tried to care about the animal's post-op well-being because, well, they really needed it to work.
This is a story of the CIA's Office of Technical Services. One of the arts of intelligence is hiding in plain sight. Cats know how to be quiet about things. You know, they don't need to draw attention to themselves. They hardly make a sound most of the time. So I think that stealthy part, I think, is quite good. So the cat is a real live cat. It's not a robot. They implant a device into the cat at the base of its skull. And the plan is that the cat will be trained.
Oh, Binky, turn off the mic.
Trained to be in particular places so that it can gather phenomena to pick up stuff that's happening in the world. For a variety of reasons, this might be difficult through other means, but if you have a cat, they see everything, they hear everything that you're up to. Sometimes you don't even know that they're there. So it's basically using a cat as a mechanism to try to gather information. So they fuse on their technological and scientific know-how to try to make this work. So they get something that can listen, but then after a while the cat gets hungry and goes away. There's a number of things that they try to do. Eventually, they come to the conclusion that every cat owner in the entire history of the world has known, which is cats just do exactly what the hell they want to do, whenever the hell they want to do.
Project Acoustic Kitty, as it was called, involved transplanting the device to a spot near the cat's inner ear, and an antenna was woven to be near the cat's tail. As we now know, thanks to Dr. Canales, these kinds of interventions would almost certainly impact the cat's sense of balance and ability to navigate. Sadly, this negligence not only led to a massive multi-million-dollar fail, it also sacrificed the life of many a good cat. Let's take a moment to commemorate the first kitty in this experiment, who apparently died in a traffic accident almost immediately upon release. I think he deserves a name. Maybe Hermes, the Greek god of communication and diplomacy. R.I.P. Hermes. May your next life have been kinder to you and yours. Strong ethical concerns aside, really? The smartest minds of science that the CIA could recruit did this? Good Lord.
I think that sometimes, no matter how much technology or money you throw at something, if you're trying to go against the nature of the thing that you're fusing it onto, maybe that's not a good thing to do. In hindsight, if they'd been less caught up in the technology and how, if we just do this and we just do that, we'll make it work. But if you asked 100 people, can a cat be trained? They would have said no. I've got 2 black cats. And I can speak from experience that, we work around them. They just do them. So there's that obvious part of it. We might look at it now and say, oh, well, that was a silly idea. But in our broader research and development ecosystem, maybe there's an important lesson that they learn.
I think this is proof that cats are absolutely anti-geopolitics. Look at how they actively resist being used as agents of the state. Although, cats' soft power. Watch out for those cat meme accounts you share your info with. It ain't just the CIA gathering intelligence on us, as Dr. Hammond pointed out. Just saying. Whew. Cats, and I guess we'll say dark information gathering, do not overlap, actually. Though they do inspire great fashion. That ninja look probably directly influenced the cat suit. And James Bond? Come on, those suits. Next on the manifest of SS 6 Degrees of Cats, we're turning the lens on cats. Literally. Stay tuned for our episode on capturing cats on camera. I want to thank my wonderful experts,
Gabriella Canales,
Zach Davison,
and
Andrew Hammond.
While the opinions are my own, the research and work is theirs. If you'd like to learn more about them, please check out our show notes, which also include the references and research that went into this episode. And if you loved it, there are many ways to support us. This includes signing up for a Ko-Fi or Ko-fi to give us $2, $5, or $10 a month to help keep things moving around here. And by having an upgraded subscription to the Captain's Log, our companion newsletter, paid subscribers have access to all our past publications, as well as special bonus newsletters. We want to shout out all those taking great care of their family and community members, feline and otherwise, through fostering, donating, and sheltering. You are the reason the world has hope. We see you, and so does the man. And of course, our kitties, because remember, everything is connected. 6 Degrees of Cats is produced, written, edited, and hosted by yours truly, Captain Kitty, aka Amanda B. please subscribe to our mailing list by going to linktr.ee/6degreesofcats, or look us up on all those social media platforms. You'll be first in line for the extra audio and more treats if you connect with us there. All episodes are dedicated to the misunderstood, the marginalized, the resilient, and the weird. And of course, all the cats we've loved and lost.
I assume everyone knows this, but Shredder was designed after a cheese shredder. That's why his name is Shredder. Splinter is named Splinter because all of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were copied from this other comic book called Daredevil. And this character, Daredevil, had a mentor whose name was Stick. And so Splinter is obviously a joke because he's only a splinter from Stick.